Today, Starknet announced the eligibility criteria for the Stark token airdrop. And in today's video, we're going to talk about what the eligibility criteria is, how you can claim, when you can claim. We're going to go over some of the reactions from the community, and I'm going to tell you my take on whether or not I'm selling or holding my Stark tokens. So let's start with the basics. How do you check to see if you're eligible and who is actually getting this airdrop? So there's a Starknet provisions page, and you can access this either by going to Starknet's official Twitter account at Starknet, or if you have a wallet like ArgentX or Bravos, there's going to be a little link where you can click to actually open up the same page. And when it comes to the eligibility criteria for this, most of it is actually focused on the developer community and also on a team allocation. However, when it comes to the community or the general public airdrop portion of this, basically what it boils down to is you had to have used the Starknet network at least 5 times during 3 separate months and transacted with a cumulative $100 before November 15th, 2023. That was a snapshot date. And you had to have a minimum of 0.005 ETH in your Argent or Bravos wallet at the time of the snapshot on November 15th. Now, we're going to come back to this 0.005 ETH point in a minute because a lot of people are unhappy with the way that this is working out. But in terms of the other eligibility criteria, there's a few other community things. If you were a participant in the early community member program, and if you used some StarkX applications like DYDX, there's a few other ones as well. But the snapshot for these was June 1st, 2022, so quite a long time ago. And then most of the other criteria are related to developers, Starknet developers, Ethereum developers, EIP authors. If you are an Ethereum staker, you might qualify as well, although I've seen some people on Twitter that were solo staking large amounts of ETH and saying that they actually didn't get any allocation for this as well. And then you got Ethereum Protocol Guild and GitHub developers. So most of these criteria you probably won't qualify for unless you're a developer. And really what it boils down to is, did you use Starknet at least a few times and did you keep a minimum balance of 0.005 ETH in your account? And I'm basically seeing 2 types of posts on Twitter. On the one hand, we've got developers getting tens of thousands, sometimes even 6-figure amounts of Stark tokens. And then we've got people saying that they had, look at this guy, $400,000 in total volume, over 250 transactions, 7 months, and only got 500 tokens. And in fact, many people are saying that they moved a huge amount of volume, but since they didn't meet that one criteria of having a minimum of 0.005 ETH in their account at the time of the snapshot, they are getting actually nothing. And in my opinion, that part of the eligibility criteria is a pretty poor design, because let's say you deposited thousands of dollars into an LP pool or onto Nostra to provide as collateral, then you didn't actually keep the money in your wallet, but technically you still were helping to grow the TVL of Starknet and you were using all these applications and you're still going to get nothing for that. It just doesn't seem quite right. And what if you had USDC in your wallet instead of ETH? You could have had $1 million worth of USDC and 0.0049 ETH, and it seems like you would get 0, which is insane to me. And the other thing about these eligibility criteria is over the past few days, a lot of people have been posting these screenshots where they were checking to see if their wallet address was among the first of 1,000 wallets to interact with a smart contract that paid more than 100 ETH in fees. So people were speculating on what it meant to be an early Ethereum contributor or early experimenter. And all of these were actually completely irrelevant. This seemed like a ridiculous criteria to me. And of course, it didn't end up actually being relevant at all. And when it comes to actually receiving the tokens in your wallet and having liquidity on them, that is going to happen between February 20th and June 20th. So there's going to be a window of multiple months where you can actually claim your tokens starting next week. Now, in terms of my own personal experience with the Starknet airdrop, I did farm this on a few different wallets, but this right here is, I would say, my main wallet. It was the oldest, it had the most transactions and the most transaction value and volume and all of that. And I created this wallet in June 2022, so it's just under 2 years old, had almost 100 transactions, decent amount of volume moved, long-term liquidity providing on Nostra and on Ekubo, and this wallet is getting an allocation of 850 Stark tokens. And then on Twitter, I found this dev who said that he fixed one typo in the Starknet code, literally removing an L from the word auxiliary, and then got 1,800 Stark tokens for doing that. So really what all of this boils down to is that the Starknet airdrop has been definitely very good for the Starknet team, for developers, even if you didn't actually contribute anything substantial and you just fixed a typo or two. But then when it comes to the community, really a mixed bag. People that Sybiled this with multiple wallets, even if you just had a couple of transactions and you had a minimum of 0.005 ETH in your wallet, you'd be getting a larger airdrop than someone who moved a huge amount of volume and really was an early adopter, but then just didn't meet that one single criteria of having 0.005 ETH. And I think there's actually a couple of lessons that we can take away from this and apply to future airdrop farming. The first is that it's definitely smart to maintain a minimum balance of a decent amount on each layer 2 airdrop that you're trying to farm. So this is something that I was already aware of, and when I'm farming airdrops, I'm always trying to leave a minimum of at least 0.01 ETH or maybe even more than that on all of the different networks that I'm farming, because this could be an ongoing criteria, not just to have done volume, but also to keep a balance there, because they're trying to weed out people that are just moving their assets from one network to another, trying to farm all these airdrops. So they're trying to weed out people that are Sybil attackers. And even just by leaving a few dollars worth of ETH or whatever the gas token is on each network, that could be a huge factor in actually making sure that you qualify for airdrops going forward. The other takeaway I have from this is that when people are talking about all of these potential criteria for an airdrop and speculating, and everyone's sharing screenshots showing how many smart contracts they were among the first 1,000 addresses to interact with, and then realizing that that's not actually a criteria for the airdrop, you have to be skeptical about what you see on Twitter, on YouTube, or anywhere when it comes to actual airdrop criteria. Only the team that is actually dropping the token is going to tell you what the eligibility criteria is, and the rest of this is just noise and distraction. And this is also making me kind of question the utility of these airdrop eligibility checkers. And while I do think that they can be useful just to provide you with a general sense of how your wallet is doing compared to others and where you stack up, I don't think that you should be relying on these websites to tell you whether or not you're actually going to get an airdrop and how much, because these websites don't know. It's pure speculation all around. So even though Wencer.xyz added this criteria here for ETH early adopters, it turns out that was completely irrelevant. Now, the final thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to the Starknet airdrop is to actually use this mental model or this decision tree that I released on my channel a couple of days ago and apply it to the Stark token. So when to actually sell airdrops. So let me walk you through my thinking on this token. And the first question is, do I have to sell it for tax reasons or because I need the money? At this point, the answer is no. So I move to this portion of the decision tree. Does the token have utility? In some ways, I would say the answer is yes, because Stark is going to be used as a gas token on the Starknet network. And also they have confirmed that the Stark token will be used to participate in governance, as well as potentially to enable staking for the Stark token at some point in the future, and then earn emissions or protocol revenue. So yes, I suppose the token does have utility. But then when I come to this question, does the utility lead to future money for me? I think the answer is probably no. They have said that they're going to have staking for the Stark token at some point in the future, but there's no actual concrete dates or timelines for that. And when it comes to actually governance or paying for transaction fees with the Stark token, I don't really care that much about that. So for me, the utility portion of this, it doesn't seem to directly lead to more money, especially not in the same way that the Dimension token could. And then on the decision tree, I actually should draw another line from, does the utility lead to future money, all the way over here to, does the token have a good narrative? And in my opinion, the token currently does not have a good narrative. This is really not a popular airdrop. A lot of people are frustrated with the way this is playing out. And already on Twitter, I'm seeing tons of posts of people saying that they're bridging all of their funds from Starknet elsewhere. And really the only people that I can tell that are happy with this are Sybils that managed to get or game this airdrop with many wallets, and then developers that got massive allocations. And so when I take all of this into account and I use my decision tree to figure out whether or not I should hold or sell this airdrop, I'm seeing that there's not a ton of utility that's going to bring me more money in the future, and I'm not seeing a great narrative for this token, at least not yet. So this is leading me to think I'm going to sell most of the airdrop that I'm getting. I might hold a small portion as a moon bag, maybe 15% of the total allocation that I'm getting, but the rest, I think it's probably going to be more capital efficient to sell it and then roll that money over into farming other airdrops on other L2s, maybe on Solana, depositing into restaking, but whatever it is, I think that I can definitely find a more capital efficient use for that money, and I don't think I will be holding a significant portion of my Stark token airdrop. And then let's compare and contrast this with the Dimension airdrop, which was literally just last week, because since the Dimension token dropped, the price has just run up like crazy. Everyone is staking, and we're getting a staking yield on the Dimension tokens, as well as many potential future airdrops. So this is an example of a great airdrop to hold and to roll over into farming more airdrops with the airdrop snowball. And then in my opinion, the Stark token is an example of an airdrop that doesn't have a great narrative and that doesn't lead to more airdrops and more money bringing utility. And I'm actually very curious to see what happens to the TVL of Starknet over the next couple of weeks, because when the token actually launches, the TVL is going to spike because the value of the Stark token itself is going to be included. But excluding the token, I'm very curious to see whether or not the average normal user is just going to bridge out of Starknet and to focus on other things, given how this airdrop has played out and the fact that largely the community, the average person, is not super happy. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Hopefully you found this interesting, and let's move on to the next, because there's going to be bigger and better airdrops this year for sure. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.